Let's go over this again. The lashon is shver and the concept is shver, but we're going to make it good. Titen Emes Yaakov. This is the 10th midah. We began it on Thursday. Midah zu hi sheyesh b'Yisrael ma'ala. There's something special about the Jews. Oisam habeinonim, those people that are kind of regular. Beinonim, meaning not tzadikim, not chasidim, not people that are going way beyond the call of duty. They're just doing what they're supposed to do. Oisam habeinonim. She'enam, a peculiar lashon, she'enam yodim lihisnaheg lifnim mishuras hadin. That they don't seem to know, they don't get it, this idea of going lifnim mishuras hadin, not going beyond. Tell me what to do, that's what I'll do. Is that the halakha? They say, is that the halakha, Rabbi? And that's what they do, yeah? So, Heim Nikraim Yaakov, these people are called Yaakov. Mipnei she'enam misnaigim ela im hanhaga amitis. Their hanhaga is a gather of MS. So, like, there's truth in that idea, because once you start, what I'm understanding is, once you start with chumras, then you're off this, what the lashon is so beautiful, shuras hadin. There's the line of law. So once you're off the line of law, so then you're going not according to law. So if you're going not according to law, so okay, in this case I'm being machmer, the next minute I'll be mekel, as we see Bal Tosef, Bal Sigra, the Eitz Hadas, etc. That there was such a concept.
You're adding to or subtracting.
Right. My wife once got a ticket for going too slow.
What?
It's driving too slow. It's like. So the argument.
On a racetrack.
She's looking for an address or something, so she's going too slow. So the argument is that either you keep the law or you don't. The law is you go 30. Like that's the law, Like so either you keep the law or you don't keep the law. Okay, say it. I got over it. See, but so here's this Midas Yaakov, which is he calls Habeinonim. They're not. This is not like outstanding tzadikim that are making fasts and doing crazy stuff, staying up all night learning. Einem yodim li'isnaig lifnim mishur zadin. Heim manikraim Yaakov mipnei she'enam misnaigim im ela im hanhaga amitis. So he calls that emes. Midah of Yaakov is working with the emes. Gama Kadosh Baruch Hu yesh lo midas emes. So what's going to be with this person who only goes emes? So now the fear is he's going to come to Shamayim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to say, look, I've got some extra, I could upgrade you possibly to business class in Shamayim. I could give you a couple extra malachim to work with you. You get to sit with the chashuva people at Shamayim. But since you went Al Pidid, I'm going to go Al Pidid, and you're just going to go exactly where you belong. I'm sorry. That's the fear, says the Tomer Devorah. No, that's how it happened. And this is the key words over here, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Emes is called Mishpat. Now Mishpat is very interesting, because we say Melech Oihev Tzedakah Mishpat. So is that a stira? You don't obey, no? Like tzedakah sounds like I'm giving you what you don't deserve, and mishpat sounds like it's according to the letter of the law. On the other hand, tzedakah comes from the word tzedek, and tzedek means what's just or what's right. So, but we don't see tzedakah as such, do we? We see tzedakah as something like from the side of chesed. From the side of chesed. So, what's this melech oyev tzedakah mishpat? And then on Yom Noraim, like on Saras Yemei Tshuva, we go, drop the tzedakah, hamelech hamishpat. It's ma'akev. Hamelech hamishpat. So mashma that the tzedakah is a bit of chesed. So here's my question here, my Kabbalistic question for the morning. What's tzedakah? Is that din, tzedek, or is it din, or is it chesed, or is it what is tzedakah? Where is tzedakah on that chart? Now it's interesting. Let me just talk about this for a minute. That when it comes, the Torah has a mitzvah for dayanim, which is carried over in the Torah mitzvahs to every Jew, of b'tzedek tishpoitus amisecha. Tzedek. So what does b'tzedek mean? Judge each person
righteously. That's a cop-out.
I'm going to translate this favorably.
Favorably is right. That's what you were supposed to say. Favorably, which is wrong, right? Because b'tzedek doesn't
Yes,
mean
right.
favorably. It means dam l'kav schus. That sounds like favorably, but the pasuk says, where do we learn to be dam l'kav schus? B'tzedek tishbait es amisecha. Judge everybody. There's a mitzvah to dayanim, from which we learn, by the way, to be down people l'kav schus. So, what's the mitzvah for dayanim? To tilt. But tzedek tishbei yourself. Be tzedek. Don't be corrupt. Don't be corrupt. Be accurate. Integrity.
Sad.
So tzedakah somehow is
It's sad kuf, 100% on the side.
okay. But just before we get to the gematrias, what's the pshat? In other words, it's tzedakah. In other words, tzedakah. Judge each person charitably. Is that correct?
No.
Sadkeinu b'mishpat. Be charitable in your judgment. Is that what it means? So let me try to explain here that Titen Emes Yaakov Chesed LaAvram. That's one pasuk that we have here. Titen Emes Yaakov Chesed LaAvram. Emes we equate with din. Chesed is we equate with Avram Avinu. Titen Emes Yaakov Chesed LaAvram. Chesed is Chesed. Emes is din. Not true, because Yaakov wasn't din. Yitzchak was din.
Mm-hmm.
What was Yaakov? Tiferes. Chesed.
Combined.
Avram. Gvura. Tiferes. So there was a sort of this combination of Chesed, and there's a difference between Yaakov and Avram. Wasn't that he was on one Chesed and he was on the opposite Chesed din? No, he had Chesed mixed in with his din, or I should say, a din mixed in with his Chesed. I took from my grandfather. Why Yitzchak's not mentioned here is a question, but in the pasuk that is. But in reality, this is what happened. There's Chesed. Yaakov is looking at the chart. His father and his grandfather. Where do I fit on this chart? So here's Avram Avinu, Zaidi Chesed. And here's Abba Gvura, Chesed Gevura. Where am I? Tiferes. Let me see if I can take this whole thing and mix it in together. When you mix the two together, what do you get? Tzedek. That's the tzedek that you get. So there's a piece of it which is din, but it's not exactly din. There's a piece of it which is chesed, but it's not exactly chesed. We get something different here. This is like a new combo that we need to think about here. And that's what he's talking about, Titen Emes Yaakov. That there's not, we're talking about, that was Yitzchak. Yitzchak was din side, on the din side. Avram Avinu was chesed, on the chesed side. Where am I on this chart, says Yaakov? The answer is, sort of like in the Emes chesed camp, and that's a hard place to negotiate. That's a hard place to swim. The chesed. So you have a situation. This was the mashal that we gave last week. That let's say here's Yaakov, Titen Emes Yaakov. So here he's the Ish Emes, right? He's the man who's the man of Emes. He's the only one of the avos who almost outright lied to his father, and he said, "Ani Esav, where's Mr. Emes?" And he's to Lavan. Where was the Emes? You know. The word Yaakov means crooked. That's what the word means. Those crooked land, the terrain is not straight. It's full of potholes. That was it. Yaakov. That's what it means. Crooked. So Titen Emes Yaakov. So the answer is that Yaakov was dealing on a greater truth level, a greater level of Emes. So there's one Emes, which is, when Yitzchak says to him, Esav, is that really you? Is that really you? Doesn't feel, Kol Yaakov. Doesn't seem right. So what would be the truthful thing to do? No, I'm not, I cannot tell a lie. I chopped down the cherry tree, and I am Yaakov, I am not Esav. That would be Emes, Titen Emes Yaakov. What's Emes la'amitoi? Oh my gosh, if I say that I'm Yaakov and not Esav, so that Klal Yisrael will never be able to make, my children will never be able to make the tikkun in the world, to bring Mashiach, will never be able to be the Or La'amid, we won't have the longevity to help HaKadosh Baruch Hu make his tachlis in the world, that Esav is going to become the Bechor, if I tell the truth here, and if Esav becomes the Bechor, the whole world's going to be full of evil, destruction, and it will self-destruct. Wouldn't have lasted this long. So now Yaakov has an ethical dilemma. Do I go with Emes or do I go with Emes La'amitoi?
Abraham was told by Hashem to listen to your wife. So maybe Yaakov was thinking, listen to my mother. Maybe.
But what does that mean, listen to your wife? It means to say, Avraham Avinu said, I know the Emes, but my wife is Emes La'amitoi. She has a deeper, that there's another level of Emes. Dangerous thing. It seems like dangerous because what is this extra level, this extra layer of Emes? I always point out, I was involved in one din Torah in my whole life, like meaning not as a dayan, as a Baal din, and I lost. Now one din Torah, and I lost, and it was Baruch Haber. Like this wasn't a question of din. It was Baruch Haber that I was right. He was lying. It was just not even a question. It was just the way it worked. The din worked is that I lost because my opponent had sent me an email saying, you owe me $4,000, and I didn't even bother answering. It was so ridiculous. So because I didn't answer, that's shtika koina. So I lost it. So always answer your emails. That's the first thing in Costco. So I'm walking away from this with a spiritual dilemma. Like I'm right. I mean, there was no question that I'm right. It wasn't saying there wasn't. Nobody would question. Even the person who passed the din said you're probably right. But the din is like this, So this is a case of Emes and not Emes La'amitoi. It's Emes, but it's not Emes La'amitoi. Emes La'amitoi means that it's the Gadskeit from Emes. Like in other words, it's really Emes. So Al Pi Shnei Edom Yaakov Davar. Is it Emes? It's Emes. Is it Emes La'amitoi? We don't know. It's possible. You see stories of Edom Zayvim, and you see all kinds of things that's lav dafka Emes. Hogabarj talks about Rishon ben Shutach. Lav dafka. There could be having bar balachkar zaydim. You got to be careful. What do you mean b'choiker al pishnei Edom Yaakov Davar? Because it's not magical hocus pocus. You have to make sure you know what you're doing. So that's the Emes La'amitoi. So Yaakov Avinu's was like technically, was he saying the Emes and the Mefarshim already take care of the technicalities for you? The Esav, Bechorcha Esav, like so they put the commas around. But that's not the point. The point is he was dealing at a higher level of Emes. So is that Sheker? It's Tzedek. It's Tzedek. Tzedek is a new thing here. It's not Chesed. It's not Din. It's not Gevura. It's Emes. It's
not Gevura?
No, Yitzchak is Gevura. So Emes is maybe like Rabbi Eliezer said last week. Like Emes is an Aleph and a Taf and a Mem. Like there's a mitzua here. That's what Emes. The word Emes itself is more on a kav hamitzua, on Tiferes. So the Tiferes means. So here's a story. Like let's say two people. Let's go back to my traffic court here for a second. The two people are standing on you're a shtickle judge, right? so there was a judge. He was a judge. So tell me if I'm right. The two people standing in front of you, one after the other, two cases. Two people driving at 100 miles an hour on the road. One of them was a teenager, who's dragging his friend, and he's going as fast as he can do, endangering the lives of everybody, himself and everybody around him. The other one was somebody who was taking a cholam Mesukah to the hospital, a 45-year-old ethical person. They're both driving 100 miles an hour. They're both breaking the law the same way. Now, is the judgment going to be the same? Not a stupid judge. In other words, anybody with any seichel is going to understand that you're wrong. So the person saying, I'm willing to be wrong. I'm willing to be wrong. I had to save a life from somebody. I'm as careful as I could be.
Something's more important than...
Ain't something like if I don't speed, this guy's going to die. Like what's the? If I was an ambulance, I'd be allowed to speed. So I'm willing to take the ticket. So the din has to be different. So that din of the judge who paskins different is not din. Is that chesed? Okay, we'll let you off. We don't want to put a point on your license. It's something else. It's the mitzvah of tiferes, and the mitzvah of tiferes is something which, let me look at a greater truth than the absolute letter of the law. So that's einam yoidim lisnaig lifnei meshuras hadin. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu looks at Yaakov, and Yaakov is worried. The whole time he's worried. The whole life he's worried. Shema yigrem achet. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives him brachas. I don't know, which chet was he worried about already? The answer is, I think it doesn't, I didn't find in the Mefarshim, but I think the chet that he's worried about is that, but I lied to my father. Like, it was different, like David HaMelech. In fact, the Gemara in Brachas, Dav Daled, who brings this whole story of Shema Yigrem Achet, the Yaakov Avinu was always worried about Shema Yigrem Achet, is coming in the sugya of David HaMelech, who was always worried that because of the Chet of Bathsheba, he messed himself up, which he did. Which he did.
But
so
Yaakov did. Doesn't seem Yaakov did.
He didn't, because he didn't do anything wrong, really. He did less wrong than David HaMelech. I don't know if David HaMelech messed himself up either, in the sense that there was a Beis HaMikdash, there is Malchus Beis David, there is David Malchus Yisrael Chai V'Kayim. There's something to that also. But David HaMelech had to endure a certain amount of Yisurim. So did Yaakov. Yaakov didn't have an easy. Yaakov was waiting for Rachel. Yaakov was sitting in the base Lavan. Yaakov is looking for Yosef. He's sitting by Avelos. Right? Yaakov had a rough go. Yaakov, and he always thought. I presume. I'm saying my take it or leave it. But he always thought that Shema Yigrem Hachet. Yes, Hashem blessed me, but look what I've done. Look what I've done. And Yaakov Nizeh Pamayim. The whole fight, the whole struggle with the Malach was this struggle of, what's your name? What's your name? My name is Yaakov. Oh, okay, you're the crooked one.
And I died in Mitzrayim. On the outs.
Yaakov is the crooked one. And then finally the Malach vindicated him and said, I'll take your Shimcha, Yaakov, Eli Yisrael. Yisrael means Yashar. You are Yashar at the end. So that's when he had Koach to go to Esav. He had Koach to go and confront Esav after the Malach told him that he's Yashar. What was the Malach telling him? The Malach was telling him that we can look at you with a deeper level of truth. There's a deeper level of truth that can be seen over here.
You have to be crooked to deal with everything in his life. Also.
Right.
But
is he Emes at the end?
Right.
Or did he say, I have to be crooked?
If Yitzchak had to go through what he went through with the whole thing with tricking his father, if it would have been completely emistic, like the Rav said,
Yaakov.
Right. In other words, if it was Asa, if it was Yitzchak that had the same test, you have to trick your father. He would have been completely emistic, and he would have blown it, and he would have given it to his brother.
That's my point. Right.
If it was Abraham, then he was filled with such chesed that he would just.
So what's exactly right? Exactly right. So what's the mitzvah? What's the emsa here? What's the kar emsa? What's the tiferes? The emes. The emes is a little bit from this little.
Like Abraham never gave up on Lot.
Emes on a deeper level.
You
see, if you went to ask somebody for advice, obviously you're looking for the emes. But which emes are you looking for? You're looking for the emes of Avram Yitzchak. Whose emes are you looking for? If you're looking for Yaakov, you're looking for somebody's able to see a bigger picture than what's right in front of me, and
That's why a Rav can give a different answer to two different people.
That's correct.
The same issue.
Right. It's a huge challenge, by the way, to be able to know enough to know, what are we going to do here? And for this verse, it doesn't make any sense to go with the Shuras Hadin. So there's a Midas Yaakov which is vindicated and called Yisrael at the end. See, it's very similar, and forgive me for repeating, but just if you weren't here yesterday, I spoke in Shul about the fact that David HaMelech said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that treat us Kitson Yosef. I spoke about in Shul. Kitson Yosef. So Rashi says in Tehillim, Parak Pei, that Son Yosef is another name for Klal Yisrael. Muzar. Why are we called Son Yosef? Called Son Binyamin, Son Reuven, Son Yehuda. We're called Yehudim, no? Like Yehudim. Son Yehuda. So Son Yosef. So the Medrash says, pointed out, the Medrash Tehillim says that I was very inspired by this. That we should be, HaKadosh Baruch Hu treat us Kitson Yosef, treat us like Yosef treated his brothers. That what? That even though they didn't deserve to the parnassa, the food, and kilkel, he was machalkel them anyway. And what was his logic? So we're saying, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yosef, give us what we don't deserve. What was Yosef's logic? Because that logic was very simple. That the pasuk says, you didn't bring me here. Yosef says to his brother, Hashem brought me here. But your kavanah was to kill me. So how big was Yosef that he was able to have an epiphany at this moment and realize that lo yatem shlachta oisiheda. It's not you that sent me here. You think you sent me here, but it was HaKadosh Baruch Hu with a big project over here that he sent me to Mitzrayim, and I became the king of Mitzrayim. So thank you very much, Rabbi Say, for trying to kill me, and thank you very much for throwing me into a ditch, and thank you very much for hating me. And it all came out really good for me. So that was Yosef looking at a bigger picture. That was looking at a bigger picture than the regular picture. That now's my chance to get you guys, which they were worried about. So apparently they weren't capable of looking at pictures. So the Zohar says, Allah pasuk, that when the moment that Yosef said, you didn't send me here, Hashem sent me here, every Jew in all of history that came from there had the koach to be able to see a bigger picture. So says the Zohar. All of a sudden we have a koach to see something that's not din. So this koach that we have is a koach of mishpat. Think about mishpat. Mishpat's a shofet. A shofet's to be a good shofet. You have to look at the whole thing. To be a good shofet, you can't have any negiyas at all. That I want to get this guy.
Tzedek,
so when we say, so this is Yosef. I understand this is Yosef. Yosef. This Rashi at the beginning. Who showed it to me? Moshe. You showed me yesterday. Somebody showed me that's the pshat in Rashi. Rashi says that everything that Yaakov had, he gave to Yosef. That was the. Did you show me? Somebody showed me afterwards. Pashat of pshat in Rashi. That Yosef was going. He took this koach of Yaakov of Tiferes because he didn't start something new. It was all the same thing. It's how you say. So he took this koach of Yaakov. And he said, well, let's look at a bigger truth. And the bigger truth of the case of his brothers is that Atem chashavtem l'rav, HaKadosh Baruch Hu chashav l'toiv. That he saw even that was like crazy, because their kavanah was ba'ebes ra, and their ma'isa was ra, but the ma'isa was toiv. At the end, they were pushing him towards a greater goal. The ma'isa was toiv, but the machshava was ra yesher koach. I'm going to give you pardosa. So what do we say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? That David HaMelech says you should be. Look at who's talking here. David HaMelech. I go back to my night Tillim shir. What is David HaMelech saying over here? Look, I did the mice of Vasheva. Maybe it wasn't right. I said Uriah to Mochama. Maybe it wasn't right, but it was right. I'm having the Yisurim, but it was right. You know that from that came out Shlomo HaMelech. And from that came out the Binyan Beis HaMikdash. You know that it was right. At the end, it was right. So treat me like you would, like Yosef treated his brothers. Son Yosef. We're the Son Yosef. That's the taich of the whole idea. So that's what's Melech Ohev Tzedakah Umishpat. So the Tzedakah Umishpat, I believe. The pshat is, the chiddush of this is, to be able to see to see a bigger picture than the picture that's right in front of you. That's the mishpat, v'tzadkenu b'mishpat, hamelech hamishpat. Right? This is the tzadkenu is not tzedakah, but to see a bigger picture. Why tzedakah is called tzedakah, we have to understand. Why is tzedakah called tzedakah?
Rabbi, the mishpat, the based on Shalmata, you come and tell me, I told someone that I did tshuva, they said, thank you, very nice.
In l'dayin l'mashen avros.
So why does mishpat l'mata different? It sounds like we're only talking about mishpat l'mala, Hashem's mishpat.
There's three things. There's Hashem's. No, I don't agree with that. There's Hashem's mishpat. There's the Sanhedrin's mishpat, and there's my personal mishpat.
Right.
So Hashem's mishpat, Hashem's able to see a greater truth. The din of Sanhedrin is midas hadin. That's comes from Yitzchak, the Sanhedrin. But and then Echanami, that's a midas hadin. They're not allowed to go outside of this. They're coming from Yitzchak. But we,
only because they don't know if you're really the tshuva. Is that the
because we don't know. Ein l'dayin al l'mashen avros. That's what it is. But we are able to do that. So comes a Torah that says, "B'tzedek tishbar t'zavisecha." Tzedek tishbar t'zavisecha. You should give somebody the benefit of the doubt. So we always learn that the pshat in giving somebody the benefit of the doubt is come up with some cockamamie story as to why the person did what they did. Like, it's ridiculous in a way. But what it really means is, it's ridiculous to come up with some idea like, why was he eating treif? I saw him at a treif restaurant eating treif. Well, it must have been b'koach nefesh. Probably wasn't b'koach nefesh. But the idea is to try to understand where the person's coming from. That's the tzedek tishbar t'zavisecha. There's a MS, and in a base that, you ate treif, and there's ramifications to that. There's ramifications, like, you can no longer be the mashgiach. It's not. Right. So there are clear ramifications, but at the same time, there's this. It's very hard. Shvertz is on a yid, because you have to really work on two levels at the same time. That's what the Torah. There is din. If somebody is involved in some kind of a physical abuse or sexual abuse situation, some kind of a scandal or other. So, but tzedek tishbar t'zavisecha doesn't say he should become your babysitter. There's a din over here. It doesn't mean that necessarily you should even give the person kavod, because it's a bad example for Klal Yisrael. But I'm just saying, in your heart, isn't there a mitzvah of tzedek tishbar t'zavisecha that that doesn't mean the guy should go to jail, but isn't there this idea of you're not really like a bad person necessarily.
Made a mistake.
Yeah, you made a mistake, and your chinuch was bad, and you have a lot of psychological problems, and whatever it is doesn't justify it. It doesn't mean that the person shouldn't be punished for it. But I'm just saying, if you walk into a prison, or if we just develop our own attitude. So the tzedek tishbar t'zavisecha, to the extent that we need to judge people. So there has to be a makom of, I think a tzaddik has a makom to be able to reach out to somebody who did something genuinely wrong. And the reason is because I can relate to a higher truth and create a tikkun. It doesn't work in din, but it works in tzaddik. I mentioned many times that the tzadikim, particularly the Hasidic Rebbes, always the way they were able to help people is always finding that chet within themselves somewhere on some level. That's if you can't find the chet within yourself, so then you have no connection with the person. Doesn't mean that you killed somebody, but maybe it means you embarrassed somebody. That's also a form of killing. But what does it mean? It means that I can relate. What does it mean? It means I can relate on some level to what you're doing. It's wrong. You need to go to jail. You need to be rehabilitated. You need to get makos. You need to die. Whatever it is you need to do, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't have compassion. There has to be some compassion there too.
Just two quick things. The first thing, this midah I can hear in the context of saying it klape another person, but klape yourself. It's a very slippery slope to start judging yourself. Tzedek.
Right.
That's the first thing. The other thing is
it doesn't say you should judge yourself favorably.
Oh.
Tzedek tishbar t'zavisecha.
Right. And the second thing is it's bringing us in midah yud. Does that mean when all the chafetz chesed and the other midas that we brought that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was looking at those in Yonim Bedin, or one of the midas, din, gvura, not but tiferet, like tiferet only comes in over here once you've...
You see, it doesn't mean, by the way, it doesn't mean, like we said in Tess, that a person doesn't get yisurim that are mamarik the chet. Or David HaMelech. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't mean that you're, exempt, like klum. It just means that on some eternal level, HaKadosh Baruch Hu can, I understand you. Like you made a mistake, but I can understand you. So it makes the din softer with some chesed. So as he says here, listen to Lashon, HaKadosh Baruch Hu misnaig imahem be'emes. What does that mean? What's Hashem's emes? Merachem aleim al tzad hayosher v'hamishpat. Mishpat is always mishpatecha tahoim rabba. So we say at Mincha and Shabbos. Mishpatecha Toim Rabbah, that your mishpat will take in, I don't know the legalese for it, but the mishpat will take in a certain level of rachamim.
Mitigating circumstances.
Yeah. There's a certain level of rachamim that goes with the mishpat too, and that's not a stira for emes. It's not a stira for emes. It's a deeper emes. Like I say, why were you driving recklessly?
That's after the din. If I understand.
You ask for mercy.
Not after the din. After someone's pronounced, at least in legalese, right? Someone's pronounced guilty, and then they bring the mitigating circumstances before the sentencing.
Yeah.
First he's guilty.
Of course.
Mishpat means both things in Hebrew, isn't it? It means the judgment and the sentence.
I mean, we're asking for rachamim already on Rosh Hashanah. We don't wait.
We don't wait for the din.
Right, we don't wait for the din to ask for rachamim. But because by us, rachamim, the mitigating circumstances, as you call it, is part of the din. It's part of the emes. Let's put it that way. It's part of the emes. So what's the limud? Adam tzarich lisnaigim chaver. Let's just get clear over here. Adam tzarich lisnaigim chaver. El sat hayoysher v'emes bli lahatos mishpat chaver. Bli lahatos mishpat chaver. On the one hand, I can't change the din. If I'm judging you, this is the din. But l'rachim alav be'emes. But at the same time, you can have rachamim on the person because rachim be'emes. That in the emes leaves room for rachamim. There's room in that emes for rachamim. It's a whole different way of. I surprised myself. I'm sure. I hope this is true of everybody, not just me. I don't want to be alone in this. But how din we get sometimes. We get very, but that wasn't right. You spoke to me on. We can get very pedantic on our midas hadin. It's like a really bad thing to do. It's a really bad thing to do, to be din with somebody, to be mishpat with somebody. That's beseder. Like mishpat means that before I paskin on a din, you're a good person, you're a bad person. There's this. I think it's deeper than mitigating circumstances. There's a whole, there's a whole ganzkeit of where the person is coming from, not just what the person is doing. So I understand you. I don't particularly want to be your friend or do business with you, but I can understand you. Too much midas hadin is not good.
Yitzchak obviously recognized that when he didn't take back the bracha that he gave, and he in fact he agreed with.
Well said. At the end, even Yitzchak was masking. Min hashamayim. That's what I'm saying with Yosef. Min hashamayim. If I was tricked, and he tricked me, and the Malach agreed with it also. Don't call you. Okay, you're no longer Yaakov. Right? Vayishma Yisrael Vayeshurun became Yashar. Haya ha'akov lemishar. That which was crooked became straight. Things that are hard to. Once, let me just do the next 3 minutes that I have. I once had, I only had one din Torah, but I once had years ago when I was in Kolo, so I left some stuff to sell. I went to America, and there's some stuff that I was selling my furniture and things. Left some stuff to sell. So I had at that time I had a very high tech typewriter. IBM Selectric typewriter.
Backspace you can erase.
Yeah. Well, my wife that was my parnasa at that time. So I'm always in the same. That was her parnasa typing. So she typed all the ksavim of Reb Chaim Vital for Rav Yaakov Hillel. I was sitting in my house for months. Things like that. She was a typist for Rav Yaakov Hillel. Typed Kabbalah. Developed an expertise in typing Kabbalah. So, anyways, I left. So there was only like 6 machines like this in the whole state of Israel at that time. So I had to sell it. In order to sell it, somebody had to get a p'tur meches, blah blah blah. So it was a whole story. So the guy I left it with a friend of mine to sell. So we're talking about $1,000 or something. It's really a lot of money, significant amount of money. And I was struggling. I needed that $1,000. And it was can't sell. Nobody wants to buy. So I find out maybe 2 years later that he sold it right away. Just pocketed the money. So I think I think that was like the first time that I was like violated that way. There's no other word for this, like geneva, right? So sold it, pocketed the money, didn't have the money, so I never sold it. That was until it became obsolete, and there wasn't anything to even think about any longer. So I remember it was probably like 2 years into my stint in America as a rabbi. So I remember going to visit Rav Scheinberg in Toronto. He was at the time. So I told him the story. I don't know if I mentioned the name, but I told the story. I said, it seems to me that this person, the Ganef, is now a Rebbe. I think he was a 4th grade Rebbe in some yeshiva. So it seems to me that I have to go and explain to the school that this guy's a Ganef. He's not trustworthy. He shouldn't be teaching the children. So she was, I don't know. He says, his words were chashed ha'mamayna like chashed ha'shvuos. Just because he's a Ganef, that doesn't mean that he's not a good Rebbe. This was making me very nervous. This is like, but I'm struggling with this one for 35 years. He said, look, you made a mistake. He fell into a pach. He should pay you back. Maybe you should confront him. Maybe you shouldn't. We discussed it. It doesn't mean that his whole life is that he's a bad person. It doesn't make him bad. It doesn't make him bad. Does it or doesn't it? I don't know. But what he was saying, was the godless that he was trying to pull out of me, which he was having a hard time with, was that there could be a bigger story here. The bigger story doesn't make it right, but it doesn't make him bad. So this became the biggest challenge of my life. Of B'tzedek Tishbaitis Hamisecha. Doesn't mean to say that, he really didn't steal it, he just thought he stole it, he just thought whatever, it didn't mean anything. B'tzedek Tishbaitis Hamisecha was a lifelong challenge to me, because I still see the guy, a lifelong challenge of trying to figure out, where this person was coming from, what was he thinking. Maybe he thought that it was, I don't know. Maybe a million things. I still haven't worked it out, frankly. But what the Das Torah was, though, that be on the madrega of not pushing somebody away with two hands. Be on the madrega of being able to understand that everybody has milas and everybody has chesroinus, and it doesn't mean that he's a bad person. It does mean that I'm not going to give him anything else to sell. No, because that's the part. It doesn't mean you have to trust the person, but that's different. That's one din. That's one din. But there's another mishpat, b'tzedek. So maybe this is the pshat, and give a little tzedakah. Give a little tzedakah. Tzedakah, guy comes to your door. Does he need it? Does he deserve it? Doesn't he deserve it? Why isn't he working? This guy is a person really, basically, he's asking for money, doing a little tzedakah. So tzedakah means, cut a little slack and understand where this, nobody's, I don't know about around here, but generally speaking, nobody becomes like a homeless, sterile, schnorrer, because he decides that's what he wants to do with his career. I said maybe around here it's different. It's a career choice. But something happened in their life, so even if they're not telling you the truth, still, tzedek tishbaitis hamisecha, there's an Indian of tzedakah. So it's the same tzedakah as tzedek tishbaitis hamisecha.
Is it too far to say that, when you have this institutionalized, organized schnorrer, it's a tickle, it's a tinuk shenishpat, it's part of
the whole movement.
The whole movement. They don't know any better.
That's right.
Say that,
the whole movement, you have to be down the Kapskos. That's 100%. I think it every day.
They don't have a rub that's sitting there saying,
No, you're not allowed to do that.
What are you doing?
Yeah. That's right. No, there's
Unbelievable.
Look.
I read this morning that Eliyahu Kitov, he saw backbreaking labor. He sought out backbreaking labor because he saw that as an avodas Hashem. And he came here and he worked and
I think
toiled.
All the Gedolim.
Right.
All the Gedolim. But whatever, the culture is, it doesn't mean you have to join that culture or you have to teach it to your children, but a culture is the biggest download kapslus. It's their culture. That's what they do. Like, you know, that's what they do. You see a kid, somebody was telling me a story that you know, there was like a group of people and a little kid, and his father said to him, "A lot of people here." We should never let our children do this, in my opinion. It's just too Keneged Torah. But for sure, they think it's a big mitzvah. And they have a culture. They'll be in for a surprise. But Tzedek Tishma Tizamisecha is that. But you don't have to go to those stores. It goes to the Chilonim also, and it goes to the left wingers that want to hurt us, and it goes to, you know, even it goes to everybody. Like that. There's not saying that they're right, but Tzedek Tishma Tizamisecha l'chora means understand where they're coming from. You know, I always talk about, I'm not the furthest thing from any kind of politician, but, you know, like I spoke once at Shabbos Shuvah, Russia, like you take a guy like Lapid, you know, like everybody's Russia is high. He probably is. I'm not passing, but don't pass about those things. But look where he's coming from. He's him, the son of his father, with the secularists and the Maskilim in Europe, still in Lita. You know, I mean, he's coming from what's he supposed to? What's he supposed to be different? Doesn't make him right, but just understand that even the little bit that he gives in, you know, is a shtickle ness.
Yeah.
It's a shtickle ness, and he's a tinnik shadishba. Keep shutay. Keep shutay a tinnik shadishba. Elocha tinnik shadishba gadol mizul. Okay, thank you.
Shukach.
So the Tilm share is at 8:45.